Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind, as always, if you could give me a like on the video, that helps to get my channel promoted. I do appreciate that. I also love it when you leave comments. So if you have a suggestion for a video, constructive criticism, a question about what I'm doing, or if you just want to tell me how you do things, that's always interesting for me to find out as well. So please leave a comment if you want to. So for a long time, I wanted to have a dapping block that had kind of a cylindrical shape instead of just the concave half spheres. And I finally got around to making one out of really hard wood called lignum vitae. This project is going to involve that, and we're going to use it to forge kind of a cupped shape along the length of the band, and we'll mount a pretty 7x9 oval faceted peridot on some prongs with a little hole through the band. And it's going to be overall a relatively simple ring, I think. I did a prototype on forging the band, and so I know that it's going to work, at least in that sense. We'll go from there and see how it works beyond that, but let's give it a try and see how it turns out. I need to thank some people. My patrons over on Patreon are my core group of supporters, and I truly appreciate their input and their support. They've created this really nice environment over there. It's a great community with lots of interaction and sharing of ideas and skills, and I do really appreciate that, as well as their financial support, so thank you for that. My YouTube subscribers were rapidly approaching 16,400, which is amazing. Thank you for that. I do also appreciate your support in that it's nice to hear comments from you that lets me know that you're getting something useful out of these, so I do appreciate that as well. And thank you for the super thanks and the buy me a coffees. That really helps with the cost of materials, and that's really helpful for me and helps to keep me going on these videos, so thanks for that. All right, well, let's get started on this ring. I think it should be a fun one. This is one of my design idea books. I have a number of different styles on my merch store if you're interested. I find that they're useful for drawing up my designs in advance, and one of the things I started to add recently to these is some charts for conversions and stuff on the back. This one is fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters, which I find useful because I use the metric system a lot more lately. And there's even one that has American wire gauge, the metric system, because I know a lot of people overseas don't use gauges like we do here, so it might be useful. Show you what I got today. Maybe. Thank you all for the good discussion in the comments about Thursday's video. That was really interesting, and lots of good information got put out there about flow temperatures of solder and using just hard silver solder or using various different kinds. So I appreciate all of your expertise, and I do appreciate when you take the time to write nice comments like that. So that was really valuable to not just me, but to the community in general, I think, probably. Okay, so here's a peridot. It's a nice one. It's got a nice oval, pretty green. I wasn't a huge fan of peridot when I first saw it years ago, but it has grown on me over the years, and I really kind of like it now. It's just a neat color. And so we're going to mount this on top of a band, but it's going to be kind of a simple band, but it's going to take some forging to make it. So here's the prototype that I did. I took a piece of 18 gauge sheet, and this is what I was talking about as far as the sort of dapping block. You know, your normal dapping blocks look like this, but I actually used to have one of these, and I gave it to somebody years ago because I didn't think I'd need it, and now I kind of regret that. But I went ahead and made one out of this really super hard wood, and it seems to be working well. That's how I did this one here. So we're going to we'll need to be cupping a piece of 18 gauge sheet in this direction and then bending it around the ring mandrel in the opposite direction to create that kind of a forged shape. And then what I'll do is I will drill a hole at the top point, and we'll make it into an oval, and then we'll mount some prongs around that and put this right on top like that. So I think that'll be kind of a pretty ring. Pretty simple, but pretty. So let's see what we can do with that. 18 gauge sheet is 1.02 millimeters thick if you're using the metric system. 16 gauge round is what I'm going to use for the prongs. That's 1.3 millimeters. And I think that's really all that we're going to need for materials on this one. So to start with, I'm going to cut a rectangle out of some 18 gauge sheet, and then we'll taper it down a little bit to the center. I think I went to the center of this piece. This piece is 10 millimeters wide or so, and I sized it to be like an 8.5 to a 9, somewhere in there, and it's ended up being 63 millimeters long or so. From the center of this, I went out 3 millimeters to each side, so that and then I scribed a line to the center up here to create that taper. So we'll do that next to save a little bit of time. I already measured the 10 millimeters out this way, and this is the length right up to there. So we'll just cut that off there, and then we'll scribe out those lines to trim it down into a tapered shape. A lot of times people ask me about these shears I'm using. These are just Fisker's craft shears, and 18 gauge is about as thick as you can cut with them, and doing this with them actually shortens their lifespan. They are not designed to do this. However, it does save me a lot of time, and I'm willing to buy a new pair periodically. So it's a lot quicker than sending them out. I think the blades could handle it over the long term because they have these titanium coating on them, but the handles eventually wear out because they're plastic. So the best pair of shears I ever had were Oxos, and they were kitchen shears, but they stopped making the model that worked so well for silver, unfortunately. I haven't been able to ever find them again, and the one pair I had broke eventually. Boy, they cut silver really well. Doesn't have to be perfect on these sides. I'm just kind of trying to get them sort of straight because we're going to trim them down anyway. Let's see if we can find the center this way. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3. And 1 over. Okay, let's find the center this way, and then we'll go out 3 millimeters from the center to each side, roughly. So there's the center. We'll go 1, 2, 3. There. 1, 2, 3. There. Do the same thing on this side. Okay, so now I need to scribe from the outer mark there to the center of the piece, lengthwise. I'm just going to kind of scribe a line like that. Like that. I'm going to go ahead and scribe a line down the middle because I have to drill a hole in the middle here for the stone at some point. Probably right after this, I think, about right there. Might as well mark it while I have it easy to find. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to spend a little time neatening these up a little bit. By the way, if you ever want to make one of these, I just took a piece of very hard hardwood and I used Forstner bits of various sizes, gradually decreasing size, to drill nice clean holes through it, and then I just cut it in half. So that gives you those nice concavities. Okay, so let's go drill a hole in this right in the center. So anymore I use an ice pick because it's got a nice sharp point to use as my center punch. It's much sharper than the center punch I actually have, so I can get a pretty good precise dimple there. I don't have a Fordham tool that works, so I'm just going to use my drill. And I'm going to leave it like that. I'll probably use a diamond burr with my rotary tool, which is just a Dremel really, to turn that into an oval shape after we get it all forged. So let's go back and do that. I'm actually going to use the sides of my dapping punches. We'll find one that fits in here. That's a little too big. Like that. And then I'm going to use my plastic hammer to bang that down there pretty hard. Make sure I'm in frame here. See? This is the therapeutic part of the project. Right? So you can see we've got a little bit of a curve there, so let's see if we can increase that a bit. It's actually not too bad. Okay, so I didn't do this on the first one, but I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to anneal this a little bit. So, because we just pounded on it pretty hard, so we can maybe get it a little bit softer again. If you're new to this, annealing is where you heat the metal to the point where it's kind of a dull red color, which softens the metal back up again after it's been work hardened. That makes it a little more malleable again, so we can bend it easier. cool for a minute or so, and then I'll just finish off cooling it in the water. I get asked about this a lot, and this I got from somebody I bought their old tools from, and he had a friend who was a welder make him this bench block out of some cylindrical steel stock. Okay, so let's start. Just kind of like what I really want to do is get these two ends together. I don't really care about the shape up here right now. But once we have it soldered together, then we'll put it on the ring mount, or we can gently tap it until it's kind of into shape. These ends down here, though, we can kind of flatten out a little bit, I think. That looks pretty good. So let's set this to the side for the moment. I use primarily hard silver sheet solder for most things, and do a lot of pick soldering. So if you're interested in learning about pick soldering, I'll put a link right up there. It's a really useful skill. Oh, and I also use a liquid flux. My torch is a Silversmith model. It's the acetylene air torch, which it's a very nice torch. You could just put a piece of solder on here if you wanted to, but that's kind of how I usually do it. Now I'm going to try and gently knock out these high points. Now I think I'm going to take my chasing hammer . I'm going to do a little cleaning up with the file. Okay, so we've got a nice kind of concave top there. I'm going to go use the Dremel to clean up the inside, and then we'll use the diamond burr to create a little. Let's do this. Okay, let's go back over where the Dremel is. This is a silicone abrasive knife edge white wheel. This is going to be a spot where it's going to be hard to polish, so I'm going to do a little pre-polishing here. A little white diamond polishing compound. Got all the big scratches and stuff anyway, so let's go see if we can put some prongs on there. So I made some marks with my marker, and I don't know if I got them exactly right, but kind of close to where I want them. That's where I'm going to solder down the ends of the prongs. But in order to do this easily, I'm going to create a little X out of some 16 gauge wire. Cutting these about, I don't know, 35 or 40 millimeters long. Not perfect, but I just need to find the center now. Pretty close to about right there. I want these to sit kind of like that. So I'm going to file one of them at a steep angle. Doesn't have to be perfect or anything, just has to be a way to get those to sit together like that. Now I'm going to make this, so I'm going to bend these downwards into kind of a cage sort of situation, so that I'm going to end up with 4 prongs sticking off of this band. See how I'm going to solder this on now like that. So I need to make sure they're positioned right, and then I need to get some solder attached to the ends of these. So I'm going to set that upright so it's easier to pick them on there. It's not too bad. Give that a shot. So there's a significant amount of mass disparity in this between the prongs and the band, and so much of the heat needs to go on this bigger band down here. Solder is already stuck to the prongs, so I just gotta really get it hot enough to where the sheet metal of the band down here causes the solder on the ends of those wires to flow again. Third hand, when you're using a third hand, it eats up a lot of heat too. It kind of soaks it up. So. Well, let's cool it off and see how it went. I think that's on there pretty good. So I'm going to let that pickle for a while, and then we'll get it polished, and then we'll snip these off, and we'll put some notches for the girdle of the stone to rest on inside of these prongs, and then we'll bend them over and see how it looks. So, be right back. So just a couple of last things. I cut these off after I polished, and I cut a little bit of a groove on the inside where I wanted the girdle of the stone to rest. Now I'm just gonna cut these off a little bit more so I don't need near that much. Then I'm just gonna start pushing these down over like that. So I typically cut these off about midway down the girdle facets, which is the ones right next to the table facet, and then I will push these down the rest of the way after I thin them out just a bit with my abrasive white wheel on the Dremel, and round them off, and then we'll get some pictures. So, but yeah, that's going to be my ring. I'm relatively pleased with that. I think that'll be super pretty. So, alright, I'll get some pictures at the end. Alright, well that was the forged band ring with a Peridot. I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, make sure to remember to hit the like button, as that really does help out my channel. I'd also love it if you went over to my main channel page and checked out some of my other content. I have 416 videos, I think, last I checked, so there's quite a bit of content there at all different skill levels, and I think you'll almost certainly find something else that you like there if you check out a few of those. And if you do, why don't you subscribe to my channel? I'd love to have you as a subscriber. If you want to look further into things, I have some links in the description down below, like if you want to check out my Patreon site. There's details about that, and you can follow that link. There's also a link to my merch store where you can get those nice design idea books I showed you at the beginning. And even a place where you can download my ebook, which is a guide to 2023's video tutorials. Those are all there. Check those out, and thanks for watching. Come back and see me again. Take care. Happy silversmithing.